What's going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck. All right, here we have another video to go through today with Robert Hunt Jr. And it's always the quiet ones. It's always the quiet ones. All the times that he has sat in board meetings and budget meetings and any other meeting, barely said a word, or when reasonable questions about, whether the budget numbers and totals being asked of him, because he is currently still the director of finance over at Thornton Township, he gets up, walks away, and goes to another seat as if somehow the numbers add up. No, the numbers still don't make any sense. So the last meeting that was held at Thornton Township, where they actually went over what's supposed to be the new fiscal year budgets and the numbers, the resident said, "We're not accepting this. It's BS." And he was not there to explain anything. There was a different young lady, I don't believe works there at the Thornton Township, that had to read in the information on the record in the meeting, because he was sick and all. But his black ass showed up for Napoleon Harris' swearing in. Oh, yes, he did. Because of course he would. So we're going to take a look at I'm going to put some music on. We're going to take a look at a video clip that I want to start this off with, just kind of showing his personality and how he was as a trustee in Dalton. And of course, super stupid having started with being a trustee and all of her infinite ignorance, was sitting right next to him in this particular video. So I'm going to check out a couple of articles from the Lansing Journal, check out the lawsuit that he is named as a co-defendant in. And then, and this lawsuit was recommended to me from Babe Solo, so shout out to her. She did a video a couple days ago and was like, if Lady Luck Club's listening, check out this lawsuit. And it was TRACY, I think it's TRACY versus Thornton Township, Super Stupid, Keith Freeman, and Robert Hunt. We're going to get to that. So let's start off with the video that I've came across on Public Ops. Shout out to Public Ops. We love Public Ops. And he did this video, Clerk K versus Hunt. And we're just going to check out the part where Robert Hunt speaks to this clerk so disgustingly, it's not even funny. Now, I'm sure some of you will say, well, he's grown since then. I don't know how, because somehow his math still ain't mathing. So even if you are quiet and low-key and you barely speak, it doesn't mean that somehow math should no longer make sense. I mean, 2 + 2 is still 4. So when he's still producing numbers or using credit cards like he's lost his damn mind, what difference does it make? He was also named in the FBI subpoenas. So that should give you an idea of what type of trouble he could, or he is, facing, especially if he can't explain what he's been doing with those credit cards, the numbers he came up with on these budget reports. If he can't make sense of it, find out he's just putting down numbers just to put down numbers. Doesn't match invoices or receipts or bank statements or credit card statements. If it doesn't match up and add up, he's going to be in a world of trouble. I can't possibly fathom why Napoleon Harris will still have him on the staff, on payroll, as director of finance when he is listed in an FBI subpoena. It doesn't make sense. But hopefully this video will shed a little bit more light based on my research of what I've done on him so far. Yeah, I don't go into personal lives like that. I'm not going to go into his background, talk about where he grew up, who his parents and wife are, kids. That's not what we do here. We keep it classy. We just keep it simply about the business and, the effect that he has had in these positions that he has held as a trustee, apparently, and as now the finance director over at Thornton Township. So let's get to it. Make sure you guys go over to Public Ops channel, hit the like button, check out this video. This is the title of the video, Clerk K versus Hunt. And then Super Stupid spat on the dope part or something, blah, blah, blah. Melanie Fitness Center. And show Public Ops some love over there, okay? This video needs more views on it. It's only got 965 views in the last 8 months. Come on, y'all. Go show some more love. All right, let's get to it.
Trustee Hunt, will you
Trustee Hunt.
we got other
not recognize Trustee Hunt.
Yes, sir,
Hunt. Not recognize Trustee Hunt.
You want to do August 31st,
Trustee Hunt,
September 30th, October 30th?
Okay.
I understand. You're the best clerk ever, and you had limited resources.
Few meetings, as Trustee Hunt alluded to, trying to, explain and excuse my existence on the planet.
He literally said, "You're best clerk ever." What does that mean? What type of dig is that, Robert Hunt Jr., who still can't figure out numbers on a report? What type of Clerk K? I'll tell you this. Clerk K is also not under FBI investigation. You are. There, mic drop.
Which I take great issue to because I thought I made myself very clear. Give me a competent part-time person.
These type of parties are not to be held there at a government building. We're liable for lawsuits. I went in there.
I want to fast forward just a little bit to him being more egregious.
I went in there as trustee.
She's the clerk.
We did ask her, and she talks for 10 to 20 minutes, and then does not give us.
Sounds like you talking 10 to 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I will give you a date. You asked for a date. I gave you a date. And I said August 31st.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
If she gives a date.
Forgive me, everyone, for talking for 10 to 20 minutes in 3 years. As a village clerk, part-time, my duties and my time is 100% reactive to the demands that are placed on me by this board. I refer, ladies and gentlemen, to the agenda since...
Madam Clerk,
bear with me, Mr. Mayor.
Respecting you, Madam Clerk, but trying to move the meeting on forward too, respecting you. Would the end of the year work by the time?
No, that's what I'm trying to say.
Let her finish.
The end of the year is not going to work for 20 hours unless I sit home and do nothing else.
No, you're going to have assistance from a
Mr. Mayor.
And you're saying that's horrible.
So this is the level of just, depravity that oozes off, when you have one person that starts this disrespectful nonsense. It just catches on like the plague. What good reason could Robert E. Hunt Jr. come up with to literally talk to this village clerk like this? Who you can tell is either rattled or nervous. I don't know much about her, but she seems to be struggling a little bit, trying to, just speak her piece without just flat out going off. You can tell she's trying to really refrain herself. She's putting a lot of restraint on herself from just going ballistic here. And she's trying to remain professional and poised with it. But he's talking about somebody talking for 10 to 15 minutes. Robert Hunt, where the hell you been? Super stupid talk for 20, 30 minutes about some bullshit. Where were you at stopping her from doing all of that? Or what about Keith McChicken Nugget or Michael A. Smith, who knows nothing, who rattled on for minutes at a 10, 20, 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time, disrupting whole meetings, or Keith McChicken Nugget calling another trustee or cussing at him, saying he's full of shit. See, I get to say that on my platform, on my YouTube channel, but I dare not say that in a board meeting to a trustee. Where the hell were you at when they were disrespecting other trustees? Unbelievable. The hypocrisy of this nonsense. And yet, I say once again, Clerk K is not under FBI investigation.
Yeah, I understand. And some of you probably don't understand that because you got the horse blinders on, and that's I see that. It's been like that all the time when you come to the meeting.
I don't care. I don't like Stan Brown. He needs to go. Period. Stop being nice because you voted for the people you want in those trustee positions, and Jason House won, and we bless God for it. Stan Brown still needs to go. Deacon Easter Suit still needs to go. Period. And he can take he who will not be named with him. Both of them can kick rocks. You have to be bold enough to say that much, because if not, this whole thing of, well, give them a chance. They're trying to work together. We need unity. Didn't you all say that 4 years ago? It was super stupid. Don't start the cycle all over again. Recognize Deacon Easter Suit to be what he is. He's a joke. He doesn't do anything. What does he do? And this just goes on and on with this, and they say slick stuff and expect no one to respond to it. That's what's so laughable about it.
Resolution is underlined, it's pretty obvious, that says plug date here. And pretty much what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, in the audience, we have meetings out here, and then we also have meetings in executive session, and we have no minutes for those. And basically that's going against the Open Meeting Act. So the way it's been performed right now, and that's how the resolution reads right now, I see some people in the back shaking their heads. We can actually have the attorney read how it states in his resolution, but he's been doing this, the lawyer been doing it for 30 years. He has more knowledge about the Open Meeting Act, but you as citizens have the right to know what happened in those meetings right now, in those meetings behind closed doors. Right now, we have no minutes for those. And
what was he at when Super Stupid was not approving meeting minutes? Because as she claimed, it's supposed to be word for word when it's not. That is not a part of the Open Meetings Act either, because it can be read. While these dumb goons keep trying to pretend as if they're attorneys. They don't even read it. You know what's so funny? You get people to sit here and talk about meeting minutes, and they don't even read the Open Meetings Act in their dumb videos. But yet and still, where was he at when she look Ewok sitting next to you actually became a mayor and then refused to do a vote to actually have meeting minutes approved? Where were you at with all that? The hypocrisy of this is just never ending. And I'm here to call it out every chance I get.
And basically, this is just going to get us doing things legally, basically. So that's why I asked I let the village attorney know that we haven't had executive meetings since 2013. He was actually surprised that we didn't have these minutes. And so he put this resolution together very fast because it's basically against the law. And so that's why we have it out here. I want to put the date of August 31st, 2016. And I think I have
to say something. It's funny that he can sit here and say what's against the law when it comes to everyone else, but not to the Ewok sitting next to him. First of all, you still have to prove intent as well. She intentionally did not approve meeting minutes. Who's saying that they're intentionally not trying to approve minutes or intentionally trying to actually violate the Open Meetings Act altogether? You know, something that an actual attorney would be able to decipher and argue. Not someone that's sitting here talking about sure prize.
a second for that, but just trying to keep us legal.
No, go ahead, legal.
Madam Clerk,
I'll
defer to the trustee.
Go ahead, trustee.
Yes, a point of discussion, Mayor. I would hope that Trustee Hunt, that you would have discussed this with Madam Clerk,
right?
Because this pertains specifically to her before we put a date of August of 2016, and we should get the input and feedback of our clerk, just so we can know that if we agree to this ordinance and then agree to a date and it's not doable, then we should get the input of our clerk. And I would hope that discussion took place between you and her before we were presented this.
To answer you, trustee, yes, we had an open discussion at the last meeting. This is now old business. We had an open meeting discussion in front of, it was on TV, it's on the cameras. You was here right next to me. Me and clerk had an open discussion about the dates and deadline. I brought it up to the board before. And now we're bringing it again. I made sure everybody's aware of this and my concern of this. And it got a little heated between, I guess, myself and the clerk. You're saying that we had no right to tell her what to do with the minutes. And I said, we do have rights. And it went a little heated. So now.
I'm sorry, what are your rights again? What are your rights again? We have the right to know, the residents have the right to know whether or not you're making up numbers or if you're actually pulling in numbers that are accurate and can be reconciled against invoices and receipts and bank statements and credit card statements. Is that what you believe to be accurate? You realize the numbers that you gave in a budget report that was not even read onto the record by you in the last Thornton Township meeting was rejected by the residents. You realize that, right? So while he's sitting here talking about being legal while under FBI investigation, how is it that he thinks just having a meeting on camera, on TV, in front of everybody, somehow is speaking with her one-on-one professionally, trying to get a date to put on the meeting minutes? That, based on what I've heard, sounds like she was doing by herself. But as opposed to you advocating for her to get an assistant, you're talking about her talking for 10, 15, 20 minutes. What a clown.
Yes, I got the village attorney aboard. Other members up here said, yes, draw up the resolution. And we did talk about it. So I don't want you to think, I don't want anyone to feel I did this behind closed doors. No, this was all done in the open.
Okay. Again, I would like to get the input of the person that this pertains to, which is her office, and that's Madam Clerk, her feelings on this deadline that's put in this ordinance.
Done professionally.
I do recall getting a little bit heated at the suggestion at a previous board meeting that minutes would be prepared and submitted in my name without my input.
Yeah, who does that?
And
who does that? How is that legal, Robert Hunt Jr.? How do you prepare meeting minutes on her behalf without her input and then have it done in her name? And then you all were willing to vote and approve that? How is that legally compliant with the Open Meetings Act again, which is federal law, by the way? How is that being legally compliant? Yeah, because you want to be legal. How would that be legally compliant to approve meeting minutes that the clerk did not prepare, did not even have input in, that you all just approve in her name? How does that work? Oh, sake.
I took a step back today and reviewed the law, and as far as, well, as it reads, it still reads, the village clerk submits the minutes to the Board of Trustees.
Right.
I'm going to give Mr. Murphy a very wide berth as far as any suggestion that he is on board personally or surprised that no executive minutes have been submitted, since it can't be a secret to any member of this board or the village attorney, because if they haven't been submitted, where are you? Essentially. Trustee Hunt, I'm well familiar with state law on this issue as village clerk, as a former trustee. All of us went through the newly elected village officials training when we came on board, which requires that twice a year, the Board of Trustees meets, at least twice a year, the Board of Trustees meets to review minutes from closed, also known as executive sessions. At those meetings, the Board of Trustees determines whether or not they, as a board, determine it is appropriate to release those minutes. I was very frank with Trustee Hunt when he asked me this year, how many minutes for closed sessions have I done in the 3 years since he and I have been on this board? For closed sessions, I said 0. We've had discussions before on the minutes from the public sessions that have not been completed. That's all been part of a larger discussion. I have made it very clear to our village administrator in 2013, to Mr. Urban, who succeeded him, and to any trustee who bothered to ask me that I cannot and have not been able to fulfill all the duties that have been assigned to me as a part-time clerk, doing a full-time job for trustees who have 4-hour meetings every other week.
There you go. Look at that face. I'm so glad I ended that video. That was epic. Listen. In all things, use wisdom. He's sitting here trying to have a problem about executive meeting minutes not being completed. She's saying, I'm part-time. You guys have these long 4-hour meetings every other week, twice a week, however. I can only do so much. It's the same thing. Here it is. When you go to court, a court reporter cannot transcribe an entire court hearing in one day. It's called a case log. So things get backlogged. Let's say if you have that judge that they serve has one hearing a day for the entire week. So that's 5 hearings in that week. That same one court reporter would have to transcribe. And get this, court reporters do transcribe word for word. So theirs have to be significantly more accurate than a village clerk who's not transcribing word for word. But if you're talking about someone part-time working 20 hours a week and you having 4-hour meetings. So out of the 20 hours she's working, she spent at least 4 of them once a pay period sitting in a meeting. And that's it. Because you can't expect her to do a full-time job and get her part-time money. No different than a full-time court reporter who has 5 hearings to transcribe for. And they're doing it by themselves. They don't get the help. That's how it works in the court. If they get a court reporter like an assistant, now you're having to ensure that what both people are doing is accurate and word for word based on the hearing, which is why typically you only have one court reporter assigned to that case, because they're the ones in the hearing actually capturing the entire hearing, the dialogue and everything going on. They even record, they have to type down who's saying what, date and time stamp. If it's a back and forth conversation, they literally got to get the back and forth. If there's an interruption, there's a way they have to actually type an interruption in an actual court transcript, word for word. And when I say word for word, every sound is audible. It has to get picked up if it's supposed to be on the record. So if you got 2 attorneys that's presenting legal argument and there's an objection, they have to have what looks like an objection that has to read as if you're sitting in that courtroom and you're hearing this hearing audibly when you're reading the transcript. And that's not anywhere near what the village clerk has to do. But she's doing what she does part-time, and she's a 4-hour meeting. Good grief. So I'm supposed to sit in this tent revival and sit here and out of the 20 hours I work, 4 of them sitting in the meeting, then go home and still somehow come up with meeting minutes by my damn self. And y'all are doing this, what, twice a week, twice a month, 3, 4 times a month? And instead of them entertaining the discussion of having her get some help, Robert Hunt sitting here being smart ass talking about her talking for 15, 20 minutes. Oh, okay. So I'll move on over to this article that I wanted to bring up here. You guys, I'm just going to kind of skim over it from the Lansing Journal. All right. This is who know it? Thornton Township. What are we hiding? Township residents asked Super Stupid for the numbers. So this was back on April 13, 24. Then, of course, it starts off with Super Stupid saying something really dumb. Much of the typical Thornton Township annual meeting consists of reading of the numbers and finance reports. At the April 9, 24 annual meeting, Thornton Township Finance Director Robert Hunt read reports of the General Assistance Fund, the General Fund, and the Road and Bridge Fund. After each reading, residents in attendance at the meeting had opportunity to ask questions before voting whether to approve. Throughout each section of comments and questions, a consistent theme was the perceived lack of access to the numbers and other information. So for General Assistance Fund, numbers following Robert Hunt's reading of a 10-page, and you guys, if you want to go on the Lansing Journal's website, you'll be able to click on this, and it's going to pull up that PDF 10-page GA Fund report. Bill Lyons from South Holland took the podium to ask, he went through a lot of numbers here. Is there any reason why we can't have an attachment that has the details so that we can follow up with these? And they put in reports. So according to Lyons, the same request had been made at last year's annual meeting. And at that time, the administration made a commitment that the financial information would be provided. I recall watching a meeting on Alicia Nicole's live stream. Shout out to her. She's residents there. She would go to the meetings and record them. And in one of those live streams she did ask Robert Hunt about some numbers. He came in. I don't know if she sat next to him. He came in, sat next to her. Either way, they were sitting next to each other, and Keith McFrosty, the Big Mac, was sitting kind of behind and adjacent to Robert Hunt. And Alicia Nicole asked, what are the numbers? I know what are the numbers here? He just kind of gave this old weird chuckle smile thing. And then I guess he felt that he was being annoyed at being asked a question he should be able to answer readily because he's the damn director of finance. And then he gets up and goes to the second row behind Alicia, just, I guess, to avoid answering a question about numbers that he knows nothing about. So, as you all have seen so far, whether he has a whole quiet demeanor or not does not excuse his behavior when he does speak or when he does present numbers. When it doesn't add up, it just doesn't add up, because in this reality on earth, 2 + 2 is still 4. And being the director of finance with a CPA, he should know you need invoices and receipts. Why can't you give a copy of these reports out to the residents? That should be financial disclosure, because it is. That's how federal laws work too. Why he's trying to be legal. He had to see this coming. You're trying to be legal. Now, never mind the financial disclosures that you're supposed to provide, especially having worked for a local government entity. Because, public tax dollars is being spent. Those credit card statements that you, I guess, didn't want people to know about, or that total you didn't want people to see in those budget reports. No, they're legally entitled to see that. So since you're trying to be legal, I suggest you read the laws on financial disclosures and do your damn job, boy. Unbelievable. All right. I'm gonna scroll down here and general fund numbers. So you guys can see that there was a 17-page report, and there's the link there for the general fund. So he got up, presented that again. During the comment session, Wendy Kelly again returned to the podium to ask about specific expenses she had noted on her paper copy: an ongoing loan payment, a grant project, and food expenses. I'm just doing this for the benefit of the people who haven't had a chance to look at this, she said, because I have, so I feel like I have an advantage. Kelly added that she had worked in corporate for 42 years and had experience in reviewing budgets and expenses. She received applause from the residents as she took her seat. Gardis Watts of South Holland asked about the mental health program that he had been informed about at a previous meeting. Is there a line item budget for the mental health program budget? He asked, alluding to a program that Dum Dum had been seeking funding for through a special mental health referendum. So Finance Director Hunt affirmed that there is, and that he would be presenting the budget to the board in 2 weeks for approval in May. Do you know what the amount is? Asked Watts. I don't have that budget in my hand, said Hunt. I can get it. I just don't have it. Why? Why are you waiting to the last minute to present that? You're talking about something significant like mental health. There's a lot of expenses that circumvent around that. You're trying to provide treatment. That means you have to go and get specialists that are licensed and trained, have a facility, have resources available for material to be able to have people who probably can't afford those types of treatments to be able to see these licensed, specialized mental health providers and to still cover those expenses in case the patient can't pay. Because this is supposed to be something helping them, right? That means you can't charge them for $500 per hour. Why didn't you have the numbers again? Because you're trying to be legal and all. Paul Roberts from Lansing expressed doubt about Finance Director Hunt's intentions to provide the requested information. It appears that the Finance Director has something significant to hide from the public, said Roberts when he took the podium. Since the beginning of the year, I've been trying to arrange a 15-minute meeting with him just to get 2 numbers from 2023. He has my contact information, but a staff member here told me he would answer my questions through FOIA. But that is not the case. The only numbers that my FOIA request produced was the annual report from Frank Zuccarelli's last year in office. Good Lord. So he playing games. While you're trying to be legal, though, isn't that what you were saying? Being hypocritical as a trustee in the village of Dalton. You want to be legal and all. Never mind the federal laws that speak on financial disclosures. No one should have to go through a FOIA. It should be made available to the public. But, while you're playing games, he did a FOIA and he still didn't get the information that he requested. It's simple. Where are the numbers that he's asking for? Do you give him something from Frank Zuccarelli? But this is the man that the goons and the clowns of Super Stupid are still sitting here dogging on. This man is deceased. He can't even defend himself. But yet, when you do a FOIA, though, you're going to get some numbers from his administration. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. What a cruel joke to play on the residents. After dogging out Frank Zuccarelli, they still do it. The airheads and the goons still do it. And he's deceased. But yet, Paul Roberts did a FOIA request and he got numbers from Frank Zuccarelli's administration. Because reasons. I don't know, how far does this incompetence go here? So they didn't read the FOIA request, or they just didn't give a damn? Which one was it? Who, child? So a 23-year-old software engineer whose name this reporter could not decipher shared his confusion about trying to find information on the Thornton Township website. He asked specifically where on the site he could find the numbers, and he suggested that the numbers could also be provided in print form at the meeting, just as the agenda is printed for everyone. So should the budget reports. That way, us as electors can make educated decisions instead of just voting on numbers that are being basically rapid fired at us. If they're even real. You heard me right. If they're even real, they could just be made up. He said, I don't think that that's fair for us as electors. And I think that if we want civic engagement, we want to provide the data necessary to make educated decisions. That's all. The crowd applauded. These very logical things that Super Stupid and her goons could not get together. Still trying to figure out what's 3 + 2. Simple mathematics stuff. The meeting that was held this year that they wanted the residents to vote on, numbers from Robert Hunt, once again, were not even approved this time because no one could he wasn't even there. He wasn't even there. And they couldn't even get the numbers validated. And the poor lady that was reading them on the record kept saying, I'm just reading them. I'm just standing in and reading them. Where were you at, Robert Hunt? But he took his ass over to that swearing in for Napoleon Harris because, trying to keep his job and all. Let me explain something to you all. Whistleblower Act has nothing to do if you have the FBI looking into you and wanting to know what type of communication you sent about a trip that was paid with public tax dollars that none of y'all needed to go on anywhere. Or all these purchases you made with credit cards, some of which make no sense. I mean, we clearly see the transactions on the credit card statements, but why did you buy the shit? It's the question. And it'll be the same question that the FBI will be asking when they're ready to drop indictments. Why did you make these purchases? Who gave you approval? What was it for? What would be the need to address the people in the community? Were you making purchases and spending money, $500-$600 at a time, over at Ruth Chris Steakhouse? Is everybody eating that meal? So you just bought this just to buy it. Don't let it be where he's using it in his personal capacity either. He decided to take his family out for a nice dinner and he's using Thornton Township credit cards for it. That's really not serving the community. But, you got the goons that want to ignore that. Like somehow these people are justified in spending tax dollars for their personal wants and desires. But when it comes down to something such as a mental health referendum and services to be provided. They can't figure out numbers on that. You can't bring a budget report for that. But these credit card statements over here look like you're spending money at Family Dollar and Walgreens and all these other places and a restaurant here, some flights and all this stuff you doing. And for what? None of that stuff business related. It had nothing to do with the Thornton Township, nothing. A couple of trips was the mayor's convention in Washington, D.C. was charged to Thornton Township. And she's not the mayor in Thornton. She was a supervisor. So even with that, the Goons and the Clowns still couldn't figure out how to stay legal. Yeah, I'm gonna run that one in the mud. So you guys can see here, there's Super Stupid was trying to explain a law that she doesn't know. Because she can't read and she didn't go to law school. Then I'm not even gonna read it because it would just piss me off. And then of course, Mary Avant got up and said her spiel, could I ask if there's any reason why the mic has been turned off? They turned the mic off and the live stream. We have people here that have been cut off. We've got a security guard that's rude enough to stand in front of people. This is a public meeting. This is a public meeting. There are people that didn't make it here for whatever reason, health-wise, whatever. What are we hiding? So the live stream got cut off. The mics got cut off. But, the news reporters in there, so it's not like they could just... Why would they do that, knowing that the news media is in there? This is a stupid. Y'all see why I keep calling her super stupid? All this stupidity vomited on everyone else, and they just followed suit. They didn't even think for themselves for 5 minutes. That includes Robert Hunt. You followed the leader. You did exactly what she said, and you forgot that you had a brain of your own. Because you're trying to be legal and all. You're the worst. Road and Bridge fund numbers. So, of course, he got up next, read a 13-page Road and Bridge fund report. And you guys see here, you can click on that to get the PDF for it. Ronald Muhammad of Harvey took the podium to say, I believe if we call up here, we can get the information of what we need that's been presented on the meetings, because she, super stupid, told us we can go upstairs to the clerk to get the information. So for the next meeting, if we call up here or if we come up here and go upstairs, we can get the information 2 days in advance, right? He encouraged residents to give her a chance and said, it is too late to correct what happened in the past. The bottom line is we can come here and get the information. Did y'all ever get the information? Ronald Muhammad, did you ever get the information? See, this is the same pattern of behavior that I've been warning you all about in Thornton and Dalton. You see how people are quick to say, give her a chance. Let me highlight it. They just give her a chance. Here it is. Give her a chance. See, those are the words that set people up for failure. When there is a pattern of behavior that is being ignored. She showed who she was when she was a trustee. You all were robbed of your vote, Thornton Township, to Ronald Muhammad. You were robbed of that vote when she became supervisor. That should have been a vote given to the people. And when you have people with this mentality, give somebody a chance, and there are clear things going wrong already, what you're doing is dismissing the problem in advance. You're dismissing it. And what happens? Those issues, it just grow and they grow and they grow and they fester and they become infected and they grow and it spreads like wildfire. Oh, because someone said, give her a chance, as if she's owed that. When there is a pattern of behavior, you're not obligated to give anyone a chance to continue the same behavior. If someone shows you who they are, believe them. From the great Maya Angelou. Rest in peace. This nonsense here gets people in trouble. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. I don't have to give Deacon Easter Suit a chance. But why, if you already know how he is and how he acts and behaves, his thought pattern and process, his mentality? When has Deacon Easter Suit apologized to anybody for being a jackass and kissing Super Super's ass for 4 years? Plus something. When? The decisions that he made that put the village in a more dire situation. He encouraged bonds. He voted for them. He actually wanted her to get bonds to build a dumbass water park that no one needed when you all are complaining about water bills. See, they complain about this stuff. Here's to the goons and the clowns who still have not somehow retrieved their brain from Satan yet. You complain about a water bill, but this heifer was trying to build a water park that would have definitely put more of a strain on water bills. Make that make sense. Deacon Easter Suit advocated for more bonds, because no one's talking about the bonds. He advocated for it. And yet and still, you don't direct that vitriol and anger and angst towards him. You want to ignore it because everybody was too busy trying to give Super Stupid a chance, and look what the hell happened. This is why when Jason House won and the trustees who everybody wanted in these positions, because no one wants he who will not be named or Deacon Easter Suit. No one wants those suits. Y'all can have them. But Kiana Belcher, Brittany Norwood, Ed Steve, when they won again, they themselves said, hold us accountable. Hold our feet to the fire. Didn't they say that? They said that out of their mouths. Dr. Nikita Cloud said that on the swearing, on the day of the swearing ceremony. Hold them accountable. Okay. When they won the primary, she said, hold them accountable. Okay. So when a boneheaded decision was made, guess what? We held them accountable. And guess what people said? Don't say anything. Give them a chance to work it out. You understand how ridiculous that is now. And it's not to sit here and attack anybody. It's to understand what's happened in the past and to stop letting it repeat itself over and over and over again. And if they're encouraging you to hold them accountable, they shouldn't feel offended when you do, one. And two, there's a way to hold them accountable when these decisions are being made that are clearly a distinction between right and wrong. It's not even a matter of whether we like something or not. When it comes to he who will not be named being put on a committee assignment, everyone just pretty much unanimously agreed that that was just a boneheaded decision. That was a bad decision. It was wrong. He should have never been put on a committee. And that was corrected. You know why? Because people had to say something about it. If you take on this notion to just give people a chance and they make all these consecutive decisions that are just simply wrong, they are not in the benefit of the people or the residents that voted them people into these positions. And they're the ones telling you, hold us accountable, hold us accountable, hold our feet to the fire, put us through the ringer. Okay. Then the residents should feel okay with doing that. You should be comforted in knowing that they want you to do this. And yes, you can be tactful about it. I know I got my mama fussing on. But as much fussing as I did about that decision that was made, it was corrected. And I still want Jason House and the trustees that are there, especially Kiana Belcher and Brittany Norwood and SD. Like I said, he can eat a suit and he who will not be named can kick rocks barefoot. But for the rest, I want them, including the clerk and the deputy clerk, I want them to be successful. And as long as they are being open and mature and responsible enough to encourage people to hold them accountable, they will be. Because you understand you have a lot to lose. If you cannot do what is in the best interest of the voters, then you get voted out. That's how that works, right? And that's not, rocket science. It's not a secret or anything. That's just what happens. It's inevitable. So in all that get some understanding. I've seen too many videos where they have encouraged people to hold them accountable. Jason House said it himself when he won the primaries. We still want to be held accountable. We want people to hold us accountable. Okay. Now, if you don't mean it, don't say it. But if you meant it, then stand on it. And understand that people like myself, I have no hate or angst or vitriol towards them at all. I don't. I'm going to fuss. If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But there are people who really want the best and they want them to be successful. And this whole notion of just give them a chance, even when they're making the wrong decisions. You cannot continue to do that because all it's going to do is start this cyclical behavior, this pattern again. Well, 2-3 years from now you'll be complaining in silence because you're scared to say something because everyone else is barking, give them a chance, give them a chance. It's 2 years later. It's like, okay, all right, we're going to give them all the chances in the world. You can go out and shift it to the right of the throne trying to figure out what are we doing down here? What are them humans down there doing? You said hold you accountable. And people who love and care for you, they want the best for you, they want you to succeed, they will do it in a way to where it's still loving, it's still constructive, and you can still build and grow from there. Versus the goons out here just attacking the attack. They're going to attack. They're going to find the smallest, pettiest, dumb shit and attack on because they have nothing else and they can barely read anywhere. But those who do love and care and want the best from the new administrations, they will do it tactfully and professionally, but be firm and stand on it. That's all I'm saying. Let's not repeat the past. Not saying that anybody can ever be as bad as Super Stupid, but good grief. I think people should be just kind of sick of this whole notion of give them a chance, and let's ignore this bad decision made. No, because that's annoying. And we can't do that as a people and as a human race. Like, certain things just have to be addressed then and there, period. I get criticism all the time. I mean, it is what it is. And I have a channel. I'm not trying to be a trustee. But it happens. It happens. All right. So I didn't mean to go on a little rant with that, but that needed to be said because I'm tired of hearing this nonsense about give something a chance when if it's a bad decision, it's just a bad decision. Call it out to be that. And then keep living. There you go. All right. So moving forward here, let's see. Summary of business conducted. Like I said, I'm just skimming over this. You guys can take time to go and read. This is a good read. And you have these awesome links here, the hyperlinks that have documents attached to it, all in this one article for your viewing pleasure. All 3 annual financial reports, General Assistance Fund, General Fund, and Road and Bridge Fund were approved. This year they weren't. Last year they were, but not this year. There was no personal property for the township to dispose of, so item 7 on the agenda was dismissed. Next Thornton Township annual meeting was scheduled for Tuesday, April 15, 2025 at 6:01 p.m. And that was held. And like I said, I do believe that, residents said, nope, we're not approving it. We're tired of it. Well done, Thornton. All right, and then here's a second article from harveyworld.org. My bad. Thornton Township electors accept some, but not all financial reports at annual town hall. So this is what happened this year, you all. And this young lady here was the one there reading the information in. This is from April 8th, 2025. And Lord have mercy. The Thornton Township annual town hall on April 8th, residents expressed frustration and confusion over the township's financial reports presented by Lauren. I'm not going to say her last name because I don't know what that's pronounced to be. Of John Kasperick Company. That's the finance auditor firm that they hired there. Electors accepted the general assistance and road and bridge funds. However, they rejected the general fund findings. That is significant, specifically because it's the fund the supervisor has great ability to oversee. All findings were presented unaudited. So there was no audits done to those budget reports. Robert Hunt was not there to present the numbers because reasons, but he wasn't there. Nor has he came out into the limelight and said anything about it. That's the worst part about it. Life happens, right? Life be lifing sometimes. But then for him to never ever come out and say anything at all since then about these numbers is even more troublesome. You can't hide under the Whistleblower Act for everything. At some point, Robert Hunt, you have to bring your black ass back to work and explain these numbers. That has nothing to do with the Whistleblower Act. Now, unless you're going to sit here and say something along the lines of, I was told to fake everything and fudge the numbers and cook the books. What legal justification do you really have for not giving a statement, saying something about these numbers and where you got them from? Period. So we were informed there was no one here to answer questions. So why are you asking for questions or discussion? If I'm allowed to ask, my question is to Kasperick. Are you willing to audit these reports? Paul Roberts of Lansing asked. Nelson Jaworski responded that the reports were unaudited as required by Township Code for the annual meeting. Residents were not being asked to approve the content, she said. You're being asked to accept it, to put it on file. Then it will be kept on file with the township. And at audit time is when all these accounts do get audited once a year. So 2 of them, they were like, yeah. The other one, they said, hell no. And that was mainly because Super Stupid had great oversight over it, And we all know how that goes with her and money and her inability to do math. So it's pretty much that. So that's the end of that. You guys might want to check out harveyworld.org. It was a good read. The YouTube video is there of that meeting. I want to get to this lawsuit. My Lord. Robert Hunt's getting sued. You being sued. You being sued, Robert Hunt. What the hell you doing, bro? I'm just going to make this full screen. Okay, so, oh, Lord have mercy. This is, and I want to shout out to Babe Solo for putting this out there, on her video. I caught some of her live stream she did, and I did catch that part, and I was like, oh, yeah, I left a comment and said, got it. So this is a federal lawsuit in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois Eastern Division, case number 24CV02126, filed March 13th, 24. Sandra TRACY v. Thornton Township, a municipal corporation, super stupid in her individual and official capacity, Keith Freeman in his individual and official capacity, Robert Hunt in his individual and official capacity. A jury trial has been demanded. Verified complaint now comes to plaintiff Sandra TRACY by and through her attorneys Costado Law LLC has filed the filed this. I'm trying to read, skim over it a little bit. Against the defendants, a verified complaint against said defendants, and in support thereof states and alleges as follows. And I'm just kind of going to go over it and glance over it. This is a federal question action involving claims under 42 U.S.C. Statute 1983, alleging violations of the 14th Amendment, and 29 U.S.C. Statute 2615, alleging violations of the FMLA and common law under Illinois law. Common law retaliatory discharge. TRACY was discharged from her employment. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Zoom in so you guys can see all of that there, all of that good stuff. There we go. I was like, okay. So TRACY was discharged from her employment with Thornton Township in retaliation for taking FMLA leave, as well as refusing to take part in defendants' unlawful schemes. You know, because everybody's not trying to go to prison with you, super stupid. Parties being plaintiff, Sandra TRACY, resides in Cook County. Defendant, Thornton Township, is a public body located in Cook County. TRACY was employed. Defendant Dum Dum is an individual that resides in Dalton, was the mayor there and supervisor of Thornton Township, former, thank God. Defendant, Walnut Head Keith Freeman. You peanut head. An individual that resides in Cook County. He was the village administrator as well as special assistant to the supervisor. Defendant Robert Hunt is an individual that resides in Cook County, was the director, or still is, I think, director of finance of Thornton Township, and later appointed as the acting manager of HR department of Thornton Township. So he was the manager of HR? Oh boy. You about to catch it. Jurisdiction and venue is the court has original jurisdiction over the federal claims under the U.S. statute code cited, as well as supplemental jurisdiction over the state law claims pursuant to 28 U.S.C. statute 1367, because those claims are related, so related to TRACY's federal question claims that they form part of the same case or controversy. So basically saying because these two are part of the same case, and she resides in Cook County, and this being a matter of federal law being questioned here, and allegations being brought forth based on violations of said federal laws, this court has jurisdiction over the matter. All right. Facts. In 2016, TRACY began working for Thornton Township as a manager of HR. On or about October 21, 2021, TRACY gave notice to Thornton Township of her intent to take leave under FMLA for a plant surgery. On or about February 28, 2022, began her approved FMLA leave and was admitted to the hospital for surgery on March 1, 2022. On March 3rd, 22, Super Stupid was sworn in as the supervisor of Thornton Township. Oh, good Lord. I can already tell how this gonna go, Lord. Oh, man. Y'all, I can tell how this gonna go. I had to drink some water on this just to get myself prepared for what I'm about to read. So, Demon Seed was sworn in on March 3, 22. On March 10, 22, TRACY sent an email to her direct manager, Dr. Jerry Weems, transitional executive director, requesting that he assist and support her in retrieving her personal items from her office. However, Tony Sherman, the facility manager, repeatedly refused to make arrangements to unlock her office to retrieve those personal items. These personal items were finally permitted to be retrieved on March 15, 22. What gave him the right to just withhold someone's personal property? Here's another clown that doesn't understand the definition of the term theft. You're preventing someone from maintaining ownership of their property that they are the rightful owner of. You know, because we went over the definition of the term theft in which video was that? Because we got so many. We went over that. Hold on. I'm gonna tell you exactly which one it was, so you all can know. I've gone over this word. Yeah, with the firefighters, the Dalton firefighters video that's up on the channel. In the underlying racial discrimination case, that video. I went over the definition of the word theft because Keith Freeman did not understand what that meant. These people don't read worth shit. Okay. So now you got Tony Sherman, the facility manager. No one who went to law school, though. Repeatedly refusing to make arrangements for her to get her personal items out of an office. So finally, it happened on March 15, 22. However, only after unnecessary interference from Tony Sherman regarding what doors and staircases could be used because reasons. Why are you doing that? It's the question. These people couldn't answer simple questions like, why are you doing this? What is 1 + 1? Define the word legal or theft. Like they couldn't do those things. You got the audacity to tell someone where they can walk in a building? This is ridiculous. All right, on March 10, 22, Super Stupid held an introductory meeting with all department heads. The invitation was not sent to Tracy, who was the manager of HR. Tracy wrote email to her direct manager, Dr. Jerry Weems, requesting permission to attend the manager's meeting virtually. This request was denied. On March 14, 22, Tracy sent an email to Super Stupid congratulating her on her appointment as supervisor and introducing herself. On March 16, 22, Dom, along with Special Assistant Keith Freeman, Peanut Head, met with Tracy at Tracy's request. During this meeting, Super Stupid requested 2 policies: workplace drug abuse policy and employee social media policy. During this meeting, she also asked Tracy for a list of all township employees between 180 to 300 individuals with notes detailing all their faults and any known dirt on them, including information which may have violated the employee's privacy rights, given what Tracy may have known as HR manager. Are you all seeing this? Holy Jesus. I told y'all, this is about to get good. Is it for real? Let me read this again. For the people in the back. To the clowns and the goons. Keep saying that she ain't did nothing wrong. During this meeting, Dum, Super Stupid, also asked Tracy for a list of all township employees between 180 to 300 individuals with notes detailing all their faults and any known dirt on them, including information which may have violated the employee's privacy rights. Federal laws now, given what Tracy may have known as HR manager. What? I have not read this lawsuit. I just researched it. I've looked for it, pulled it up, saved it. That's it. Thank you, babe Solo. Oh, this is a good one. Number 18. Shocked. I'm in shock. Shocked by the request, but unsure how to respond in the moment. Tracy told Lil Goofball something to the effect that she would sleep on it. I would have said, hell no. And I'm sure you're going to do whatever it is you're going to do. Understand, you're not smart enough to know federal laws, and I will sue the shit out of you. That's it. And I'm going to bed. Good night. That would have been my response. Then, you're asking me to break federal laws for you because reasons. Why can't you do this yourself? Oh, because she can't read. Okay. Jesus. The following day, on or about May 17, 22, Tracy emailed little girl and said she would not agree to this request to gather dirt on Thornton Township employees. On March 17, 22, Super Stupid fired Jessica Jones, assistant HR manager, and Stephanie Wiedemann, Thornton Township chief of staff. These terminations came. Why didn't Stephanie Wiedemann get appointed Napoleon Harris to be chief of staff again? I mean, is it too difficult to give her a position? Maybe you should make her the finance director and tell Robert Hunt to enjoy that FBI investigation. What the hell? I don't understand this. Why doesn't Stephanie Wiedemann have a job there at Thornton Township now? When she was just elected as a trustee? And you can't say she did anything wrong. I haven't seen any legal documentation on it. But if the goons and the clowns want to challenge me on that, please email it to me. This is crazy. What am I reading? God, you can't make this up. It's like reading the craziest book of fantastical things that exist on another planet. I mean, it's insane. These terminations came with no notice, naturally, because they came from a dum-dum. No due process, naturally, because she's an Ewok. And we're done at about 10 p.m. Oh, Lord. When everybody was at home getting into bed. Oh, my God. Let me start over. Hold on. Let me start over. I got to gain my composure. Jesus Christ. Okay. On March 17, 22, Chickenhead fired Jessica Jones, assistant HR manager, and Stephanie Wiedemann, Thornton Township chief of staff. These terminations came with no notice, no due process, and were done at about 10 p.m. in a closed door meeting with board trustees. The normal and appropriate HR protocol to terminate an employee was not followed because she thinks she's above the rule of law. And Jones and Wiedemann found out about their terminations from other employees the following day because it was 10 p.m. in a closed door meeting with board trustees. What board trustees? Who the hell was in that room to approve of these terminations? Oh, let's find out. On March 23rd, 22, TRACY sent an email to Township Board Clerk Loretta Wells requesting information on the termination of her subordinate, Assistant HR Manager Jessica Jones. As Township Board Clerk, Loretta Wells attended the late night private meeting in which Ms. Jones was terminated. Loretta Wells responded and said that she and the board trustees were told that TRACY was aware and already knew about the termination ahead of time. However, this was not true. Okay, so that's not something to go back and forth on. Just tell me who the hell was there and send me the information, girl. Loretta Wells? Yeah, why would you, you know what? Never mind. Nope. It's as if all that dumbass buffoonery clown behavior that Super Stupid showed as a trustee in the village of Dalton was somehow just blocked out from Thornton Township. How did they not know that she was already a horrible person? Seriously? No one at Thornton Township knew that this heifer was an Ewok from outer space? Oh, she is the worst. How can anyone think that this is okay to sit here and terminate somebody at 10 p.m. at night to the clowns and the goons in the back? Let's still sit here and defend this grown-ass woman that this maybe does pay their bills. How can you defend this? And then you're talking about a violation of privacy, which is the violation of federal law, by the way, especially when the employment is in an actual local government body. Okay. Oh, child, you can't make this up. So Loretta Wells responded and said that she and the board trustees were told that TRACY was aware and already knew about the termination ahead of time. Knowing, just we can assume that, you know, Loretta Wells got this information from Super Stupid herself. Knowing that, why would you assume that she was telling you the truth? I don't know. However, this was not true. On March 19, 22, TRACY requested a complete copy of her personnel file. This request was made after finding out that management planned to destroy all employee files and records. Oh, my God. How did she find that out? TRACY found out that a request was made to have all employees' files and records destroyed. Are you sick? Am I right? This request was made after finding out that management, meaning who? Super Stupid, naturally, and who else? Peanut Head, Freeman, planned to destroy all employee files and records. That explains why Siggy only had 2 sheets of paper in his employee file. That explains a lot. Because that is the truth. That is a fact. There were only 2 sheets of paper in his employee file. Oh my God. Upon information and belief, management subsequently destroyed all employee personnel files. How is that not a violation of federal law again? To the goons and the clowns in the back. Yeah, I love going at it with the goons and the clowns because they're so stupid. I don't feel bad at all. How is that not a violation of federal law? This is unbelievable. On May 24, 22, TRACY sent an email to Super Stupid, Peanut Head, Dr. Jerry Weems, whom I still don't know, and Finance Director Robert Hunt requesting a meeting for the impending conclusion of FMLA and return to work. The email requests a response to the following: confirmation that TRACY's position remained as HR manager, assignment of a private manager level office in the headquarters building as she had prior to commencement of her FMLA leave, restoration of all of access to all organization HR assets and work product required in the position, including full administrator management authority and access to ADP, the primary HRIS. It's a human resources information system. It's a software program that a lot of companies and agencies utilize, and all other digital platforms as previously assigned, and paper files, including all employee files and HR files with correspondent security protocols, keys, digital access. Assignment of a trained and experienced HR assistant, knowledgeable in HR practices, benefit management, and labor law, as previously existed at the commencement of the FMLA leave, clarification of official direct reporting relationship, and continuation of current compensation, benefits, and position authority. Paragraph 25. Shortly thereafter, Freeman responded, Peanut Head, chimed in on this, responded to TRACY via email inviting her to a meeting on June 6, 22, which was later changed to June 7, 22. On June 7, 22, a meeting was held to discuss TRACY's return to work following her FMLA leave in response to her request for information. Attendees in the meeting included Peanut Head, Dr. Jerry Weems, Hunt, and TRACY. Super Stupid declined to attend. Okay. Freeman led the hour-long meeting on June 7, 22, and despite Dr. Weems previously having been TRACY's designated direct reporting manager, Dr. Weems did not speak at all because cowards. No spine or backbone. The meeting categorically addressed each of the elements previously identified in TRACY's May 24, 22 email as follows. Confirmation that TRACY's position remained as HR manager. TRACY would be demoted from HR manager to HR clerk upon her return. What the hell? What the hell? How do you do that? Like, why would you break so many damn laws and protocols to demote someone without just cause? She was on FMLA. The woman went and had surgery. What the hell? She would be demoted from HR manager to HR clerk. That is nothing but Super Stupid trying to be humiliating in her Ewok fashion. You dumb alien creature. Assignment of a private manager level office in the headquarters building as she had prior to commencement of her FMLA leave. Their response would be, TRACY would not be assigned to the private office she utilized pre-FMLA leave, but rather a workstation which had yet to be identified upon her return. Letter C, restoration of all access to all organization HR assets, work product required in the position, including full administrator management authority and access to ADP, the primary HRIS, all other digital platforms as previously assigned, paper files, including all employee files and HR files with corresponding security protocols. The response to that was access to all organization HR assets would be blocked until Super Stupid gave permission. Despite repeated email requests from TRACY directly to this little girl, the Ewok continuously, repeatedly, and intentionally refused to even acknowledge or answer the request. But yet she go to meetings. Y'all got my number. Y'all know how to call me. Y'all know how to email me. Y'all know how to get in touch with me if y'all want to get to y'all can't. Like Frank's videos would say, shut the fuck up. What the hell wrong with you? This has got to be a violation of so many laws. It's not even HR laws are still laws too. You know how many HR laws are being violated here? Aside from the FMLA. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. My mind is blown. Oh, man. Assignment of a trained and experienced HR assistant knowledgeable in HR practices, benefits management, and labor law as previously existed. Because, Super Stupid has no idea what labor laws are, apparently, because she thinks she can do what she want to do. So their response to that was HR assistant manager Jessica Jones, who was well trained in her work, was inexplicably fired March 17, 22 in the middle of the night by Dum Dum. This action was taken with no notice whatsoever to TRACY. Oh God, what did he do again? Yeah, I had to expand it because it's a little bit small for the font. This weird font. Who wrote this this filing? Come on with the font now. Come on. This action was taken with no notice whatsoever to TRACY. Ewok then transferred the compensation and work responsibilities of the fired assistant HR manager to finance director Robert Hunt, a longtime political ally of the supervisor who had no HR background, because I questioned his financial background as well. And that CPA license. I questioned that too. Hunt's salary instantly increased from $116,000 to $190,000 a year. Damn. This dude is making almost $200,000 a year with having many HR laws violated. And he was still happy with that. And now you want to see here under the Whistleblower Act. What a clown you are. This left only one other HR employee, Anthony Butler, an intern with 3 months tenure and little experience. His salary instantly increased from $116,000 to $190,000. Please, God, let the FBI get some of that money back out of his ass. Oh my God. Clarification of official direct reporting relationship. Their response to that, Freeman announced, Peanut Head, in the meeting that Sandra TRACY would be assigned to report to Township Attorney James Basili. Why is the HR clerk reporting to the Township Attorney? They're not even making decisions that make sense. It's so stupid. How do you justify that reporting relationship? That wouldn't have scared me. I would have started laughing. Like, Mama, you wouldn't even believe what they just did. These dumbasses just demoted me, violated many HR laws. They destroyed many HR files and employee records. And now I'm reporting to the actual Township Attorney. Can you believe it? Can you believe this? They got me reported to the Township Attorney. Like I can't call the Illinois State Bar and have his ass disbarred. Are you kidding me? Continuation of current compensation, benefits, and position authority. Their response was compensation and benefits remained the same. Position authority would be totally eliminated. Not only was TRACY no longer a manager, she had less authority than the 3-month tenured HR intern. Access to HR systems, ADP, would continue to be denied for the time being. But she still got paid the same amount of money. So Robert Hunt was getting the actual salary of what he had plus what the assistant HR was receiving. Was he doing both jobs is the question. Because it doesn't seem like he did. I don't think when you can't answer 3 + 3, I don't trust you with an HR system. This is unbelievable. The meeting concluded with Freeman promising to follow up, Peanut Head, with an email the next day with further clarification on reporting to Township Attorney Vasily, I think that's supposed to say as well as a workstation / office assignment. She didn't even have a private office anymore. The following day on June 8, 2022, Freeman failed to follow up with TRACY. As such, TRACY sent a follow-up email to Super Stupid Freeman Weems Hunt to document the discussion regarding the changed circumstances of employment from June 7, 2022, as well as follow up on her remaining questions to be answered. I would have recorded that meeting. At this point, you around any of these clowns, record everything. Especially with Hunt still being there. Yeah, don't have a meeting with him verbally. He should expect those meetings to be recorded now or strictly done via email. Don't even talk to him beyond good morning. And I would record that just in case. You can't trust none of these clowns. You can't. And he sat next to Super Stupid for too long as a trustee over there in the village of Dalton, to which we saw it earlier in the video, knowing how she is and her conduct and behavior, and her character. And for some reason, he thought that was okay. I'm blown away. So, the Ewok of an alien, Peanut Head, Weems, and Hunt. None of them acknowledged. We're in paragraph 31. Neither of them acknowledged, answered, or replied to the email, despite all receiving and reading the email per return receipt notification. So she did email read receipt. Thank God. Because the administration failed and refused to assign TRACY a workstation, she was forced to work from home. When TRACY offered to work from the public lobby, she was instructed she could not do so. Eventually, TRACY was locked out of Township office building. For F's sake. Why? Oh, man. During this time, Super restricted certain village and or township employees' access to village and or township buildings. It was common for her to retaliate against her perceived enemies by doing so. Part of this retaliation also included being threatened by Ewok's 6-man armed personal security detail. Oh, you guys are trying to be threatening. Oh, okay. Well, there's more of FBI agents than it is of you all. 6-man armed personal security detail. Yeah, okay. Let's see you come against the Illinois State Police and the FBI when they come rolling in. Good luck to that. They'll be crying and roll around on the floor like that dude we saw in that video last night in the live stream. What's his name? Yashawn Mitchell or something? Y'all, he was crying like a baby. Yeah, all 6 of these so-called armed personal security details will be sitting here begging, please don't do this. I was trying to follow orders. Fuck out of here. As such, TRACY was afraid to come inside the building for fear of further retaliation or even being arrested or 6 dudes trying to beat her up. Who knows? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. 6 grown men trying to sit here and intimidate and threaten one woman, yeah, because that's so manly. Of these punks. Keeps cowards around her. They have no spine, but then they want to sit here and get gruff with everybody else. Laughable. Laughable. Good Lord. As such, TRACY was afraid to come inside the building for fear of further retaliation or even being arrested. When TRACY asked her previous supervisor, Dr. Weems, if she could come inside the building, she was told it would be better if she stayed outside and talked to anyone with whom she needed to meet outside. As such, at all relevant times between June 7 and 7/22 and September 14, 22, TRACY either worked in her car, in the township office parking lot, or from home. What the is going on? You would not have worked in my car. No, ma'am. Y'all don't want me in that building? Sounds like I've been trespassed without giving an actual trespass. You're locking me out unlawfully. I work here, but I haven't been trespassed from the building, like especially criminally trespassed. So working in the car should not have been an option. You were not obligated to do that. And you just work from home. Oh, okay. We work from home for the next June, July, August, September, for the next 4 or 5 months. Yep. Thank you. I'll take that remote work. Whatever. I'm not working in my damn car. Kiss my ass. What the hell? This is so fantastical. It's hard to believe. It would be hard to believe if it were not for me reading it in a court document. God. Oh, man. I know the attorney that wrote this is unbelievable. On June 12, 22, being unable to officially clock in and out of work due to not being able to enter the building, TRACY began submitting her hours via email for time card payroll processing with detailed note. At the time, although Dum Dum's administration performed an organization-wide reclassification of the entire workforce, TRACY was the only senior manager that was not reclassified as exempt. Oh, Lord have mercy. And then they have a footnote here regarding a former Dalton trustee, Stubbs, was locked out of her office. She went to local Fox 32 Chicago News about being locked out of her office, and a news report aired on the matter. Shortly thereafter, Stubbs' home and vehicle were riddled with at least 9 gunshots. Stubbs believes the shooting was ordered at the behest of Super Stupid because she's a demon. As such, TRACY was required to provide her hours worked along with a report of work that was done for Freeman's approval, even though Freeman had completely stopped communicating with her after June 7, 2022. Freeman failed to acknowledge or respond to these emails because he's another spineless coward that's got it coming. Prior to her FMLA leave, TRACY had been a member of the South Suburban Economic Development Corp. SSEDC steering committee in a countywide initiative to expand and improve adequate housing resources for employees of major employers in the region. On June 21, 22, SSEDC sent TRACY an email regarding the steering committee. A committee was being convened to address critical issues regarding initiatives being created while she was being locked out of the office, forced to work in her car. TRACY responded by inviting the SSEDC consortium chair to connect with township management, that being Peanut Head and Hunt, to get direction on the township's continued participation in the consortium, since no one from Thornton Township Management was speaking with TRACY after her FMLA return. What is it? It's so childish and so immature and so stupid. This is why I said Freeman can kiss my ass and go to hell. He's got a lot of people to apologize to for all the crap that he has done. And now you got Hunt involved in this. Hunt, you're doing the same dumb crap as well. That's what I'm reading here. You participated in this garbage, in this buffoonery, this immature behavior. They can't give one viable reason why they stopped talking to the woman when she came back from FMLA. She went and had surgery. This is disgusting. And yet people are supposed to sit here and be sympathetic towards them. Nope. Nope. I will not. They can kiss my ass. This is absolutely appalling. Oh my God. Ooh, child. After seeing TRACY responded to SSEDC, Freeman and Dum Dum scolded TRACY for her unprofessional and unauthorized emails to the SSEDC. Something she's done in the past, though, before Super Stupid came out of nowhere and was voted in the middle of the night. See what happens when you guys do things without the voters having input? And I'm talking to the trustees here. Do you see what carnage came along with Super Stupid being supervisor? With this midnight hour voting thing? Because that was done underhandedly. So the consequences of that is all this BS that came behind it. And no, it's not to sit here and to keep gut punching the actual trustees, but they need to understand this is what happens when you make horrible decisions. When you make bad decisions or the wrong decisions, it not only hurts people directly that are being robbed of a vote, but it hurt other people who were just employees trying to go out and have surgery and come back to work. All of the buffoonery she kept up, all of the hurt and harm and the damage that she has done. And you have soulless miscreants from hell trying to ignore it and justify it and defend it. What's going on? This is insanity. Man, this is insanity. This is really getting me irritated, to be honest. Insanity. She was scolded for emailing this organization that she had been working with years prior. Between June 25, 22 and August 12, 22, TRACY began sending emails to G. Gonzalez, the township payroll coordinator, detailing her hours worked. TRACY was then instructed to begin manually punching on a time clock in the township office building, despite being locked out. In order to do this, TRACY had to sneak into the building and punch in and out. This is god awful. Gonzalez, did you not know she was locked out? These are the things that have to be, he's going to be questioned in court, by the way. They're definitely going to get him in as a witness. Because, you know, now he's supposed to be a good guy, so you better have your ass ready to go in and testify in this matter. I don't even know if there's a hearing. You better be prepared to testify. This is insane. This is insane. I'll put it like this. If this matter has not been, you know, settled somehow, because reading this, I highly doubt they will want this to go to a court. But if it does go to court, Gonzalez needs to be summoned to testify. Period. You're telling her to use a manual clock out system. There is no way you were not aware that she had been locked out the building, did not have access. I'm sure she sent that to you in an email. And you know how evil and soulless, super stupid was. And her level of indication and retaliation knows no boundaries, knows no end. So to have her do that, you could have, as a matter of fact, why didn't you make sure she get an office? Where were these trustees at when it came down to her working in her car? Yeah, I'm saying it. This is the questions that need to be asked out loud, and no one should be scared to ask. Where were these trustees at when she was sitting here working in her car? Oh my God. So she had to sneak in and out the building. Already afraid because, you know, 6 grown-ass men in the security detail probably would have done something to her. Apparently. Because they're just doing the baby goat demon's bidding over here and just not even caring about the ramifications of their actions. Not even a little bit. Every instance that TRACY snuck in and out of the building led her to feeling tremendous anxiety of retribution if she was caught inside. Even though they didn't have a legal reasoning for actually keeping her out the building. Has Peanut Head ever apologized for any of this nonsense he perpetuated? He needs to be apologizing to a lot of damn people. I hope his ass catches a superseding indictment. He go to prison. Beginning August 1, 22, Freeman stopped approving TRACY's time card, resulting in a loss of pay. Yeah, oh my God. Because laws somehow go over his head as well. From August 1, 22 through September 14, 22, Thornton Township failed to pay TRACY. Yeah, look how the attorney typed that in the caps. Thornton Township failed to pay TRACY. Wow. The township's failure to pay TRACY was highly consequential and detrimental to her mental health and well-being. TRACY provides full support for her husband, who has been seriously ill for years and is near terminal. Wow. The lack of pay was devastating to TRACY. Plus, it's illegal. She worked the hours. She had not been terminated. And by law, you're required to pay her for the hours worked. What the heck is going on? Furthermore, during this time, TRACY could not even collect unemployment compensation due to still being employed. This is ridiculous. This is why I go hard on those goons and clowns that keep trying to defend. Super stupid. I don't give a fuck if she's no longer the supervisor or not. She never deserved that position to begin with. Look at the carnage and the damage that she has done. And Peanut Head and Robert Hunt. What the hell? Where were the trustees at when all this was happening? Did this ever even come up in a Thornton Township board meeting? Because I ain't watched them all. Because I can only deal with the sound of her voice. The Ewok alien. But for only so long. She's insufferable. Holy Jesus. Wow. So she was still employed, couldn't get unemployment, and they weren't paying her, which is illegal. On August 14, 22, due to the stress of dealing with the circumstances surrounding her employment and lack of pay, TRACY suffered a myocardial infarction, a heart attack. She had a heart attack. Her husband was terminal or near terminal. She's working in her car. She was threatened and intimidated about not being able to go into a public building where she was employed. Never giving in office. I want you all to understand the series of events in this. Never giving in office. And you got Peanut Head and Robert Hunt and Jerry Wings and the soulless evil entity, super stupid, inflicting all of this on her, violating many, many federal laws, labor laws to be specific, and as well as FMLA. And then decided to not pay her for the time she worked, not approve her time card with no justification at all. Because Freeman is a coward from hell. That led to her suffering a heart attack. I mean, who would be able to go from August 1 of 22, September? You're talking about what, 3 paychecks being missed? August to September 14th? That's good 3 pay periods. With no payment, with no check. What the fuck is going on? On September 6th, y'all just have to deal with my profanity. Child, please. On September 6, 22, after being fed up with what was happening at work, TRACY sent an in-depth email to Freeman inquiring as to why she was being ignored, mistreated, and not paid. Freeman did not respond. You coward. You are a coward. You are a coward, Keith Freeman. You are the worst of the worst. You are a fucking coward, and you owe this woman an apology. And you owe the Village of Robbins $90,000. On or about September 9, 22, TRACY sent an email to Freeman Hunt and Anthony Butler, the HR intern, demanding to be paid per Illinois Department of Labor wage and hour laws. Because laws. In response to her email, TRACY was referred to Township Attorney James G. whatever of the Delgado Law Group, the leeches upon the South Suburban areas of Chicago, of Illinois. Not just Chicago, Illinois. Worst law group ever. Upon info and belief on September 13, 22, in a closed-door meeting with the Board of Trustees, Super Stupid decided to terminate TRACY after violating many laws to mistreat her. Upon info and belief, Super Stupid lied to the Board of Trustees in this meeting and said that TRACY was aware of her impending termination beforehand. Why do they keep believing her? I don't understand this. Who was obligated to believe her? Now get her in here. We ain't trusting none of that you saying. You can't do nothing to us. We're the Board of Trustees. You can't fire us, bitch. So get her in here, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to talk. We want both of y'all in this room before you make a move and think that we're going to sit here and approve on. Why would they believe that? Was it too hard for them to just speak up to say it's more of us than it is of you? You can't fire us either. So if you want to sit here and come at us with that nonsense, we want her in here in this room before we conclude with this meeting. We're not going to move forward with it, and you can kiss our ass. Get her in here. That's it. Would it have been that difficult to get her in that room? Oh my God. What is, I hate to see this level of injustice happening right here. This is so blatant and obvious. And people say that she didn't do anything wrong. Because they don't read. They don't read. They're just as ignorant as it gets. Oh man. I really hate that she went through this. This is horrible. A terminal spouse. She had surgery. Then she suffered a heart attack. For fuck's sake. All right, so she lied to them as usual because she's an inveterate, pathological, narcissistic, lying piece of crap. Told them that TRACY was aware of her impending termination beforehand, even though she doesn't even know why she couldn't go into the building and clock in and have an actual workstation. On September 14, 22 at 12:51 a.m., TRACY received an email from James Cecil, whatever, Township Attorney, that her employment had been terminated with no other information. In response thereto, TRACY sent the response email back requesting a due process hearing. However, TRACY never received a response. She knew exactly what to ask for. Very smart. As such, TRACY was terminated without a pre or post termination hearing. While employed with Thornton Township, TRACY was a dedicated employee that enjoyed the work she did, and she planned to stay with Thornton Township for the remainder of her career. TRACY has worked hard to earn and maintain a good personal and professional reputation as a public servant, and as a result enjoys a good personal and professional reputation as a public servant in the community. As a result of the termination at the hands of defendants, TRACY suffered humiliation, shock, and grief, as well as emotional, reputational, and economic harm. Let's not forget the physiological factor of the actual heart attack. Count 1, violation of the Family and Medical Leave Act against Thornton Township, Super Stupid, and Freeman. And then, of course, they reallege the paragraphs 1 through 61 and 62. They go over the FMLA. This is federal law, 29 USC statute 2612 sub A1D. So It defines Thornton Township as the employer, according to 29 CFR statute 825.104. It defines Tracy as an eligible employee, defined in the FMLA. Tracy had worked for Thornton Township for at least 12 months and 1,250 hours of service with Thornton Township during the previous 12-month period before she took FMLA on February 28, 2022. And this is based on federal law that goes beyond Thornton Township or even the state of Illinois. Federal law. Oh, God. C29 USC statute 2611, section 2. Tracy had an entitlement to leave, as defined in FMLA, because of a serious health condition that made Tracy unable to perform the functions of her position with Thornton Township. Tracy properly requested leave from Thornton Township in October 21. This request for leave was supported by a certification issued by Tracy's healthcare provider. Certification which was provided to Thornton Township in a timely manner and which was sufficient pursuant to 29 USC statute 2613, subsection B. Tracy provided sufficient notice of her intent to take leave by sending emails to Frank M. Zuccarelli, the then supervisor of Thornton Township, on October 21, 2021. She was granted FMLA on or about February 28, 2022 through June 1, 2022. As such, Tracy was entitled to take FMLA due to being eligible for FMLA protections based on her disability and for giving proper notice to Thornton Township of her request, and because Thornton Township approved Tracy's request. Oh, man. So Tracy was entitled to be restored either to the same position held at the time her leave began or to an equivalent position with equivalent employment benefits, pay, and other terms and conditions of employment upon her return based on FMLA law, federal law. My God. However, Thornton Township interfered with, restrained, and or denied the exercise of or the attempt to exercise Tracy's fundamental FMLA rights by not restoring Tracy back to her job pre-FMLA leave, not restoring her same pay, benefits, terms, and conditions of employment, and ultimately terminating her employment upon return. This is crazy. This is so unbelievable how they violated an entire federal law. And Freeman doesn't think that he, owes anybody an apology for this. You're the worst. Upon returning from FMLA, Tracy was demoted from HR department manager to HR clerk on equal footing with an intern. Her office was taken away. She was forced to work in her car in the parking lot, meet with coworkers outside if she needed to speak with them, was unable to access critical information to perform her job, was unable to clock in and out of work in a manner consistent with before taking FMLA leave. While Tracy's compensation rate technically did not change upon returning from her FMLA leave, she was not paid from August 1, 2022 until September 14, 2022, a mere 2 months after returning from her FMLA leave. By demoting Tracy on June 7, the defendants denied Tracy restoration to the same or equivalent position as prescribed. By making Tracy work out of her car, restricting access to the building, co-workers, and necessary HR functions, and not paying Tracy for 6 weeks upon her return. She didn't get paid 3 checks. That's why I told you all. She missed a good 3 pay period. 6 weeks. Good grief. Who can miss 3 paychecks like that? Defendants failed to restore Tracy to an equivalent position with equivalent employment benefits pay in other terms / conditions of employment. Oh, God. As a result of her termination, Tracy has incurred and is now incurring and will continue to incur a loss in wages, salary, employment benefits, and other compensation denied or lost to Tracy by reason of the violation within the meaning of the FMLA federal law in an amount to be proved at trial. These costs include, but are not limited to, lost wages and medical expenses during Tracy's leave of absence, back pay from the effective date of termination, lost medical expenses from the date of termination, and lost employment benefits from the date of termination, the loss of front pay as of the date of this complaint, and any interest on the amount thereon as provided in the FMLA, as well as attorney's fees and court costs. Defendants will be unable to show that Tracy would not have been entitled to her position even if she had not taken leave. Oh, Lord. Wherefore, Sandra Tracy respectfully requests the judgment be entered against defendants. The following relief: back pay in an amount to be determined at trial, compensatory and consequential damages, including for emotional distress, liquidated damages pursuant to 29 USC statute 2617 sub A 1A 3, They indicated as 3 small i's. Punitive damages, pre-judgment and post-judgment interest at the highest lawful rate, plus some. Attorneys' fees and costs for this action, any such further relief that this honorable court finds reasonable. So that's going to be the relief that they're requesting, of course. It's going to be repeated for each count. So I'm just going to read the counts now. Count 2, 14th Amendment retaliation under 42 U.S.C. Statute 1983, denial of procedural due process against all defendants. Basically, they fired her. They did not give her a pre or post termination hearing whatsoever. As a government employee, you do have the right to appeal your termination as well. So, because Super Stupid is an idiot, they can't even give a reason as to why she was terminated. And they didn't provide that. They couldn't provide a reason why they bullied her to work in her car, why they failed to pay her for hours worked. And why would the trustees have a late-ass meeting and just take Super Stupid's word for her knowing she's being terminated? Why would you take her word for that? Like, it's so stupid to me. I don't understand that. Why would they just take her word for that? She's an inveterate liar. There is no way in the hell that woman knew she was being terminated. Why wouldn't the trustees say, well, we're not having this meeting? First of all, it's late. You're an idiot, and we don't trust anything you say. Bye. And then you go and make sure she's a part of this meeting. Did they not even follow up to say, hey, did you ever get anything saying you were being terminated? No one called her? Oh, Lord. See, this is why you can't just be silent on things when it's right versus wrong. The trustees were wrong as well. They should not have even allowed this to go to this point. And if you don't speak up along the process, along the way, look how this stuff piles up. Now you all understand the point I was making earlier. Give her a chance. Just let her try. No. Fuck that. Because had the trustees been asking in these meetings, what proof do you have that she's aware? Last time I checked, she's scared to come in here and clock in and clock out. So none of that makes sense. We're not doing this meeting with you. You can't fire us, so you can kiss our ass. We will schedule a meeting with both of you all being here, plus HR, Freeman, Peanut Head Ass, and Hunt. All y'all gonna be in here, and then we're gonna talk to everybody at the same time. That's how that should have went. Along with the attorneys. Because wasn't the village attorney supposed to be her so-called direct report? That's my understanding of it. Her direct manager, the succession of the reporting relationship, she's reporting straight to the village attorney. So why in the hell would the village attorney not be in the board of trustees meeting when Super came in talking about she knows she's being fired? Okay, let's get back to it because we're almost at 2 hours and oh Lord have mercy. No, they should have never had a meeting without every person present that needed to be present. They could have at least tried to do some sort of damage recovery with that, but nope. But I'm sure no one said anything because we don't want to get mad at we don't want to say anything. There's reasons. Look, brief. What are you expecting to get done if you don't say anything? This is infuriating to me for many reasons. But the impact that it had on this woman's life, especially with the stress of it leading to a heart attack, and her husband was terminal. This is why you got to speak up. There's nothing wrong with saying, even if you voted for those trustees, even if you like the trustees, there's nothing wrong with saying you all are wrong for not intervening. This is what you all allowed to happen by not saying something, by not stopping this. Just as much as in the village of Dalton, they went to court to get an injunction to keep Super Stupid from firing and hiring people. The trustees at Thornton Township could have done the same thing. And if they needed to get outside counsel because Delgado Law Group sucks and they're the worst, then so be it. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh, Lord. Okay. So she was entitled to a pre and post termination hearing. So that's a denial of due process. Any public entity prior to termination must provide oral written notice of the charges against the employee, an explanation of the employer's evidence, and an opportunity to present her side of the story. She also has the right to appeal it, being a government employee. Good grief. She was denied such. No hearing was given. No opportunity to present her side. Had no idea what was going on. Her constitutional injury and termination was caused by persons with final decision-making authority. Peanut Head, Dum Dum, and Hunt. Unbelievable. And I thought that the village attorney was her manager. Now it has in here Hunt was the HR manager and her supervisor. Was it? So, of course, she's, asking for the judgment relief here that was repeated in count 1. Count 3, common law retaliatory discharge. So they realleged paragraphs 1 through 81. Illinois has clearly mandated public policy that is supposed to be in favor of protesting the illegitimate policies and practices of a government agency. They have clearly mandated public policy in favor of employees legally and adequately paying their employees under the Illinois minimum wage law, and that is State Statute 820 ILCS 105, etc. Likewise, Illinois and the U.S. have clearly mandated public policies in favor of protecting an employee's rights under the FMLA and the Fair Labor Standard Act. Defendants discharged TRACY on September 14, 22. They discharged TRACY in retaliation for activities in support of the public policies in favor of reporting employers' illegal payment schemes after TRACY sent an email to Freeman and Hunt demanding to be paid per law, federal laws, per laws are laws that neither of these two thunkheads are smart enough to cite. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I can guarantee you they have no idea what the Fair Labor Standard Act says, nor would they ever be able to interpret that law on their best day. Good grief. The defendants the act of discharging TRACY in retaliation for her comments about laws on labor and wage and Thornton Township not paying her for work she had already performed violates the clearly mandated public policies in favor of reporting employers' illegal payment schemes of his employees. And yet, Freeman had the audacity to get mad at the firefighter saying, "You accusing me of theft of wages." This is theft of wages, Freeman, you peanut head. This is exactly what theft of wages is. You failing to follow laws to pay someone for work performed. That is theft of wages. You're withholding her property, which would be her income, her paycheck that she earned, because the law says so, that you're not above he who has been indicted by the FBI. Ooh, I'm going to clown his ass every time I can get in front of a mic. Oh, man, this is so blatant. Corruption at its finest. TRACY's demotion and termination was no doubt in retaliation for TRACY taking FMLA leave, failing to acquiesce to Dum Dum's request to assemble a list containing the dirt on Thornton Township employees, complaining about not being paid, which is illegal to not pay someone for hours work. So I speak on the state law regarding retaliatory acts occurring in the workplace. She was discharged out of retaliation. She suffered a loss of income and significant emotional distress. Let's not forget the heart attack. So the physical effects of this. Oh boy. So they're of course asking again for the relief in the judgment. Count 4, violation of the Fair Labor and Standards Act of federal law. Federal law. And that is 29 USC statute 215 sub A3. They realleged paragraphs 1 through 91. Thornton Township was the employer. Dum Dum was an employer, being that she was supervisor. Freeman was the employer, being that he was acting on behalf of Thornton Township as special assistant to somebody. Hunt was the employer, being that he was also acting on behalf of Thornton Township as HR director, whatever. TRACY was the employee as defined by the same FLSA law. Defendant's willful failure to pay TRACY between August 1, 22 and September 14, 22 violates federal law because it does. These federal laws, 29 USC statute 206, 29 USC 215, subsection A2. Good grief, federal laws. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. As a direct proximate result of this unlawful practice, she suffered and continues to suffer wage loss, liquidated damages, wage loss, and therefore is entitled to recover unpaid wages, liquidated damages, interest, attorney's fees. Get all the money, girl. Get all the money. Count 5, conspiracy under 42 USC 1983. So they realleged paragraphs 1 through 99. Paragraphs 100, she was deprived of her constitutional rights when her employment was terminated without due process. Defendants made an agreement to deprive her of her constitutional rights. There was an actual deprivation of her rights arising from overt acts in furtherance of the agreement, because they agreed to do all this dumb shit and then tried to, they brought in the trustees into this, and who amongst the trustees tried to stop it again? That's my question. Why didn't they say no? And we will sue your ass if you keep trying. What? Oh my God. So it says here Thornton Township has a well-settled and widespread policy of retaliating against employees. They seem to have that, for real. Good grief. At least several other former Thornton Township and Village of Dawson employees besides Tracy have been terminated by Dum Dum and Peanut Head for similarly dubious and spurious reasons within the last few years, including but not limited to Jessica Jones, Stephanie Wiedemann, Lavelle Redmond, Karen Johnson, Bruce Owens, Mario Bond, Cheryl Collins, and Samisha Williams. Boy, all these lawsuits. I know we've gone over Stephanie Wiedemann. I could go over Lavelle a lawsuit. Yeah, he has a separate lawsuit aside from the melee. Karen Johnson does have a lawsuit. I think we went over Mario Bond. He was working under Kim Austin, who peed in an alley. Jared Collins, and I have Samisha Williams lawsuit that I am going to go over. So, of course, they asked for the damages in the judgment. Again, count 6, common law intentional infliction of emotional distress. So basically, having to work in the parking lot, the demotion from taking FMLA, failing to pay her for 6 weeks, terminating her employment. That can push anybody to just the point of I would have split this earth wide open in the end. And you take from that what you want. Because that's crazy. This is insanity. Additionally, defendants committed these acts while acting in a position of authority to Tracy, which makes the acts de facto extreme and outrageous. See McGrath v. Fahey. And this is a case from 1988. Case law. They either intended that their conduct would inflict severe emotional distress or knew that there was at least a high probability that their conduct would cause severe emotional distress when they retaliated against her. A defendant in a tort case must take his plaintiff as he finds her, even if she is more susceptible to injury than the average person. And of course, case law is cited here, Zerba v. U.S. And this is a case from 2001, Reed v. Union Pacific Railroad Company. I've seen these same case law cited in the, I think the firefighters lawsuit, as well as we've gone over so many lawsuits. The lawsuit I think filed against Kim Austin from Vaughn and a couple others. So when in the tort case that is against he who will not be named from Asha Gant. So these same, this same language you see here in paragraph 108, it's the same exact paragraph you see in Asha Gant's tort case against he who will not be named. So those are the parameters for the case to fit the the requirements to be considered tort in those types of lawsuits. And they're basically just, asking for the court to grant some sort of judgment for damages incurred. And then count 7, the Illinois minimum wage law that was just completely obliterated. So they didn't pay her for 6 weeks. When she told them to pay her, they didn't do it. They ignored her. Then they terminated her. Now, the minimum wage in 2022 was $12 per hour. Man. Her salary didn't go down, though, pre-FMLA. So her salary should have actually been what she was being paid before she went on FMLA, which should have been, significantly higher than $2,880. Significantly higher than that. But yep. So they they request the same damages again. Count 8. Tortious interference with prospective economic advantage. And this is in their individual capacities that this count is being brought forth, which is good. So no matter how you put it, they're not going to get away with this. They ain't going to get away with this. Even if they're issued a judgment, the judgment could still be split to where they have to pay this out in their individual capacities, which is awesome. Super stupid, Peanut Head, and Robert Hunt. Because he did nothing in all of this and was complacent and complicit. You didn't stop it. So basically it's in tortillas interference with prospective economic advantage and in support, therefore states and alleged, they reallege 1 through 6, paragraphs 1 through 116 and 117, when a third party maliciously sticks his nose into the economic relationship between an employee and an employer and causes the employee to lose her job, that third party is subject to the tort cause of action, even if the employment is at will. So they basically intervened and interfered with her ability to work and make money. And then they had the audacity to terminate her for it. So they need to pay for that because they did that in their, individual capacities as well as their official capacity. These midnight meetings were enough, but good grief. Tracy had a reasonable expectancy of staying in a valid business relationship with Thornton Township due to her continued employment. So Peanut Head, Hunt, and Dum Dum had knowledge of this expectancy. They intentionally and unjustifiably interfered with this expectancy by inducing or caused a breach or termination of the expectancy when A, Freeman and Hunt failed to sign off on Tracy's hours and failed to pay Tracy between August 1, 22 and September 14, 22, and ignored her pleas to be paid. Who should have to make a plea to be paid when you've worked? You've worked. You're still an employee. They tried to sit here and I'm guaranteeing you they were going to try to go through the angle of, well, she didn't clock in. You all didn't allow her to. She had to sneak in and out of a building. And that evidence can be supported with the witness Gonzalez testifying on that. She had to sneak in and out. And I'm sure there are cameras on that building to see her outside in the parking lot somewhere in a car working. This is insane. And then they had the audacity to destroy employee files. So none of the goons and clowns going to say anything about that dumb shit. They destroyed employee files. Are you serious? But they find it so hard to believe a fire behind the car wash. Oh, Lord. Because clowns are going to be clowns with no brain. So, Stupid lied to the Township Board of Trustees in her quest to terminate Tracy because she lied like hell. She just lies like hell. Tracy suffered a loss of income and significant emotional distress. Can we not forget about this, her suffering a heart attack as well? I mean, we all know scientifically and physiologically that stress can lead to, health issues and health problems. It's not hard to believe that this type of stress could have led to a heart attack, especially if you don't even know why you're not getting paid for hours you worked and why 3 goons are sitting here violating whole federal laws. So they request for judgment again, and they definitely want them to have to pay some of this from their individual capacity. That means we want judgment granted to Sandra Tracy where these 3 thunkheads have to pay out of their personal money, out of their pocket. Because that's how it should go. And we all know Keith Freeman is not going to want to pay it because he owes an entire village. Oh, man. Jury demand. Plaintiff hereby requests a jury trial. I would love to see that jury trial. All right. This was done by Matthew R. Costardo, one of the attorneys for Costardo Law LLC. Delgado Law Group has allowed nonsense like this to happen, and all of those attorneys there should have their bar license revoked. Question is, why is no one reporting them to the Illinois State Bar? This is just awful. Super Stupid is on her way to prison at some point once that indictment drops. Keith Freeman has already been indicted. Peanut Head. And Robert Hunt is named in an FBI subpoena. Why is he still working? And now this lawsuit. This was just filed last year, y'all. 2024. March. Oh, Lord have mercy. I wanted to show this here. This is the last thing I'm going to show in this video. I know the videos have been a little lengthy, but good information in this stuff here. We hitting 2 hours. So I'll make this one quick. This is a final administrative decision, Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board. Appellant, Robert Hunt. Docket number is 20-20014.001-R-1. And then they have a parcel number here. This Property Tax Appeal Board, Robert Hunt, the appellant, Cook County Board of Review. Based on the facts and exhibits presented in this matter, the Property Tax Appeal Board hereby finds a reduction in the assessment of the property as established by the Cook County Board of Review is warranted. The correct assessed valuation of the property is, and then it has these amounts below. Subject only to the state multiplier as applicable. And then they have the jurisdiction, finding of facts. The subject property consists of a 2-story townhome of frame and brick construction with 2,197 square feet of living area. The dwelling was built in 2009 on a concrete slab foundation and features central air conditioning, 2 fireplaces, and a 2-car garage. Property has a 3,674 square foot site and is located in Dalton, Thornton Township, Cook County. The subject is classified as a Class 2-95 property under the Cook County Real Property Assessment Classification Ordinance. And then you can see the footnote here. What happened in 1 and 2. So there's a footnote there next to 2020 tax year for 1 and 2. And then you can go down to the footnote. It'll tell you what that footnote indicates. So the appellant's appeal is based on an overvaluation. In support of this argument, the appellant submitted evidence disclosing the subject property was purchased on August 22, 2017 for a price of $100,000. from RRCH. Number 4, LLC. The appellant completed sections 4 recent sale data of the appeal petition disclosing the parties to the transaction were not related. The property was sold by owner realtor and the property was advertised for sale through the MLS for 4 months, multiple listing service. To document the sale, the appellant submitted copies of the real estate purchase/sale contract, the settlement statement, and the closing disclosure associated with the sale of subject, which disclosed real estate commissions were paid. In further support of his claim, the taxpayer submitted info on 3 comparable sales, 2 of which were located within 2 blocks of the subject and 1 comparable located 4 miles from the subject. Comparable have sites of either 2487 or 3753 square feet of land area and are improved with 2-story dwellings of frame and masonry construction that contain either, and they have the amounts of square feet of living area that are either 12 or 19 years old. The comparables, these are the comparables now, are each built on a concrete slab, feature central air, 1 or 2 fireplaces, 2-car garage. The sales occurred from December 2018 to March 2019 for prices ranging from $85,000 to $116,000 or from $57.77 to $68.77 per square foot. The appellate submission also includes a copy of the Cook County Board of Review final decision disclosing that the subject has a total assessment of $13,452, which reflects a market value of $134,520 when applying the 10% level of assessment for Class 2 property under the Cook County Real Property Assessment. Residential appeal form depicted the subject had a land assessment of $1,377 and an improvement assessment of $12,075. Based on this evidence, the appellate requested a reduction in the subject's total assessment to $10,000. So he filed this trying to pay less taxes because 2 or 3 other houses in the area that were, I guess in his mind, comparable, it wasn't as much as this. So they lowered the amount that he would be obligated to pay. He meet his burden, and a reduction of the subject's assessment is warranted. Yeah. So this is the stuff that, if he could sit here and file an appeal to get his property taxes reduced, because based on all the other houses around here ain't that much. Why the hell he can't produce a budget report again with some real numbers on it? This is what he did, y'all. He's the appellate. He filed this stuff. The appellate requested a reduction in the subject's total assessment to $10,000 to reflect the purchase price of $100,000 when applying the 10% level of assessment for Class 2 property. So instead of paying $12,075, he filed an appeal to pay $10,000. If he can sit down and do it, I don't know if he had an attorney or not, but if he could come up with this type of an appeal to avoid paying an additional $2,075 on some taxes, why the hell can't he produce a budget report with real numbers that make sense and explain it to the residents of Thornton Township? Why he can't do that? Why is he named in a lawsuit where he is participating in someone being unlawfully terminated, not paying them according to federal laws? But man, he'll go out of his way to avoid paying an additional $2,075. Robert Hunt might be quiet, might not be as explosive as Super Stupid was, or as cocky as Peanut Head was, who's now indicted. But it doesn't mean that he was any better. You can do this, Robert Hunt, but you couldn't explain some numbers or even show up for the meeting this year to put the numbers on record and answer questions about what the totals are for a budget. Either he's trying to play a game that most people don't want to recognize he's playing, or he's got some real dark, sinister areas about him that is so obvious and blatant, it's hard to ignore. You can't fool everybody. It's always the quiet ones. It's always the quiet ones, people. That's all I got. 2 hours, 17 minutes. Listen, this is information I just Googled and that came up and I was like, oh, okay. So he knows how to be able to, make a case and present an argument to save $2,000 on some taxes. But he can't sit down and tell you all what a general fund budget number is. It's unacceptable. Robert Hunt is named in this FBI subpoena for a reason. He's not innocent in any of this. The worst part is that he actually thinks he's getting away with it. And if Napoleon Harris keeps him in that position, you all need to raise your voice about it. You don't have to attack Napoleon Harris, but he needs to damn explain why he chose to keep Robert Hunt on payroll, especially having read this lawsuit. It is egregious. It's disgusting. It's deplorable. It's depraved to not give two shits about what they put that woman through. With her having a terminal ill husband, with her having surgery and then suffered a heart attack after having worked in her car. And he thinks that he's not entitled to give over some budget numbers to tell a resident, a voter, what is the totals as far as our tax dollars when it comes to Thornton Township. I hope his ass gets indicted because you've misused credit cards. You violated federal law. You can't explain budgets with millions of dollars sitting in it. And you just sit quiet in the corner, acting as if no one's supposed to say anything to you about it. But that's not how it works. The Whistleblower Act does not protect you from everything, Robert Hunt. Nope. It will not protect you in that lawsuit. Whatever judgment is issued against you, you're going to have to pay it. If the FBI has any findings that leads to you being indicted and charged with something, you're just going to be indicted and charged. That Whistleblower Act just simply protects you from being fired or terminated by reporting violations to a government agency of such violations. But you didn't report your damn self when you were sitting here breaking federal laws and not paying an employee hours they had worked. No, it's too much like right. Everybody wants to keep saying, give them a chance. All right, at some point, when y'all get tired of saying that, you start asking some questions. And then after a while, you won't be able to sit idly in the corner anymore. You won't be the quiet one, thinking that they're not going to do anything because I'm not loud in meetings. On paper, you sound like a monster. When it's just egregious to think that this man is supposed to keep a salaried job paying, what, $190,000 a year? Has he received some reduction in this? Because that's what it said in the court filing. $190,000 a year. It's insane. All right. That's all I got. You guys make sure you hit the like button and share this video. I don't put this information out here thinking that the goons and the clowns and the morons or Robert Hunt and Peanut Head or any of them are going to like it, because of course they're not. But they didn't care when they were sitting here precipitating this nonsense either. Nor have they apologized for it. You would think they would try to start with that. No. All right. And then consider becoming a member. Is there more content to come? Good cases. Got a couple lawsuits. Misha Williams is up next that I want to go through because hers is got some good information in there that from what I've read so far involves finance campaign laws. And I really want to go through that. It's dealing with Super's scam Tiffany Cares thing. And yeah, we all know that she, took $10,000 from Thornton Township and put it in that scam, which would have been seen as some sort of a campaign contribution of some sort, because it went to her campaign party. So yeah, that's finance campaign laws are federal laws, and you don't play around with that. So that stuff will lead you to prison. So we're going to go over that lawsuit, and I'm sure the FBI has gone over it as well. Y'all forget that there's so many federal laws that she could be implicated with and indicted on. It's not even funny. And there are tidbits of this being dropped in these various lawsuits that the goons and clowns are not reading, nor do they understand. But, they know so many judges and attorneys. Funny. Laughable. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you so much for the support. If you would like to support the channel here in the Lady Luck Club, consider becoming a member. You can always donate with a super. Thanks. Stickers, super chats. Also, Cash App is $ Lady Luck Club LLC, and Zelle is Lady Luck Club LLC at yahoo.com. Yeah, it takes a good minute to get some of this information together to be able to present. So I bless God for any donation that I get here, and I appreciate you all so much for supporting. Just by viewing and hitting the like button, it goes a long way. Keith the Chicken Nuggets video is still doing so well. Let's make sure that He Who Will Not Be Named's video does well as this one. and it is going to be premiered today. Thank you all once again for your support. And until the next video, Lady Luck Up is out. Deuces.